As we move into the third phase of the program, we start to notice there are two different styles of coaching. We have frontline coaching for supervisors and volunteers, and business coaching or performance coaching for those exceptional people that have coaching skills and have some of the core attributes that make them available to become business coaches. So the business coaching course is a 6-day course which consists of a number of core elements, and it starts with a simple principle that you can only coach somebody if they let you. So the process for coaching is simple. We start by looking at rapport. What is rapport? How do we create rapport? How do we know when we've got it? How do we know when we've lost it? And are there ever times when we should make sure we break rapport? Like before the time when somebody makes a personally strategic decision, or when the coachee is affected by the outcome of the decision. So we look and study for a significant portion of the first event how rapport is created, made, maintained, and ensured. But rapport isn't the only thing we have to have a great coaching conversation. Because I'm sure there's people that even though you have lots of rapport, still would probably thump you if you tried to coach them. And that's because rapport just opens the door. Actually allowing you in is about creating and designing an alliance. The alliance is about understanding we come at this as equals. I'm not there as a coach with all the magic answers for your problems. I'm there to ask difficult questions, the questions you probably wouldn't ask yourselves. It's also about recognizing what coach works best for you and your teams. Are you looking for a forceful, systems-biased coach who's going to very much focus on achieving and supporting people to deliver the systems? Or are you looking for a people coach who's very much about motivation and building self-esteem? So understanding the style of coaching that works best for the organization and individuals is also important. The final part of designing an alliance is considering how do you want to receive feedback? How do you want to be held accountable? How do you want to ensure that what you actually agree with the coach and the coachees is being delivered out on the ground? The alliance starts to form the framework and structure for what is going to come next, which is focusing on our goals. The next stage in our coaching process is to look at well-formed outcomes. Now, we use the term well-formed outcomes as opposed to goals, objective, mission statements, because a well-formed outcome is structured in a way which literally reaches inside the individual and grabs hold of all of the available resources and tools that the subconscious mind has and focuses them on finding these solutions, looking for the issues and coming up with a plan to help them achieve what's important to them. And this is the interesting thing. In coaching, it's what's important to them. Now, in a business, it's great if everybody's goals and dreams align. But the reality is in life, it isn't always that way. So sometimes as a coach, you could end up working with somebody and their goal is to leave the business. But if they get better during their process, if they're supported during that process, and if they're developing within the business, when they finally think they're ready to leave, they'll probably have a second thought about doing that because we as a business supported them in that journey and they've probably got a lot out of being with us too. So there's some really interesting challenges when we look at well-formed outcomes. But the key is this: they're personally engaging and they can be aligned with our business objectives, but they don't have to be to help people achieve excellence. Having got a well-formed outcome, what we find stops people moving forwards is something in their head tells them this isn't important. They could never achieve this. They're not good enough to achieve this goal, or something's getting in the way. And we tend to call these blockers. They're often driven by our beliefs. Remember what we said about beliefs? They're the rules we have inside our head. Whether they're right or wrong, it's irrelevant. So the next step in our coaching process is to help people overcome the blockers that get in the way of action. Now, removing the blockers is great. Believing you can achieve the goal, well, that's a good start. But next for us, it's looking at motivation. Why is it they want to achieve the goal? what's important to them about it, and how do they motivate themselves. Because motivation isn't a gift great managers and leaders give people. It's something they stir up inside the person that gets them off their backside and achieving what they want. So we'll look at values when we look at motivation. And we'll look at why that particular goal or aspiration is important to them. Because once we understand the level of importance, and if you remember, logical levels is a great tool for looking at the value of a conversation. Once we understand what motivates them, we can help them move towards achieving that goal. Now, loads of people know what they want. They know what they have to stop believing to get there, and they're motivated to do it, yet still they miss the target. So the next step in our coaching process is to look at feedback. When they lose the shot and they miss the bullseye, what causes them to miss? What adjustments have they got to make? And it's not at the target end of the flight, it's inside their head to make the difference. So we talk about feedback, but feedback only works if you let it land. And the adjustments have to be made before we loose the arrow, rather than once it's in flight. Now, feedback and feed forward are great terms, and it's quite a difficult skill as a coach to give somebody feedback or elicit feedback, which can sometimes be quite negative. So there's a skill as a coach, which we call how not to get shot. Just like the old Roman emperors used to stab the messenger in the chest for telling him he'd lost the battle, the coach's role and job often relies on the alliance and rapport he has with the coachee, a manager or a leader. And we want to ensure our coaches have a long and prosperous relationship with the business. So teaching them how not to get shot and how to help feedback land and be accepted is a key part of these final few sessions. When we coach with people and we're coaching businesses and teams, it takes a little time for the concepts, the ideas, the values to land, and the behaviours that change as a result of this, they take a little working through the system. And in coaching terms, we call that flight time. So it's about recognising that coaching is a skill and a set of tools which helps somebody change the way they think. Results are an outcome from changing the way somebody behaves. And the link between thinking and behaviour takes a soak time. And that's a core tool too. How many times do you find yourself thinking about something you really want, and 3 weeks later driving down the motorway, the answer appears inside your head? That's flight time. Your unconscious mind works in the background looking for the solution and says, there you go, I found it for you now. Try that on for size. So the coaching process helps us understand the strategic calling points for any individual to become a great coach and to create a coaching relationship. But it also defines for us the key calling points for a business to create a coaching culture. The problem for most businesses is we focus on what we want. We set ourselves a big goal and we focus on it without designing the alliance and building rapport with the people on the shop floor, the supervisors, middle managers, and sometimes even the leadership team. We aim at a goal that not everybody's aligned with, and often we're surprised we don't get great feedback and we miss our target. So the coaching process helps us understand how a business creates a learning coaching culture. And by following the same steps, we can achieve excellence as a team, as a contract, and as a business too.